In the sweltering heat of the Mesopotamian summer of 1845, Austen Henry Layard's spade struck something harder than the sun-baked earth that had concealed it for over 2 millennia, and as the British archaeologists carefully brushed away the accumulated dust and debris, the carved stone face of an ancient Assyrian king emerged from its earthen tomb, its eyes seeming to gaze with imperial authority across the centuries that had passed since the fall of Nineveh. The discovery of the Northwest Palace at Nimrud marked the beginning of humanity's rediscovery of one of the ancient world's most formidable empires, an empire that had ruled from the highlands of Anatolia to the deserts of Egypt, from the Zagros Mountains to the Mediterranean coast, and whose very name had become synonymous with military might, administrative efficiency, and imperial grandeur. The Assyrian Empire, which emerged from the modest city-state of Ashur on the banks of the Tigris River sometime around 2500 BCE, would eventually grow to become the largest empire the world had yet seen, encompassing virtually the entire Near East and establishing administrative, military, and cultural precedents that would influence imperial governance for centuries to come. Archaeological excavations throughout the 19th and 20th centuries at sites such as Nineveh, Nimrud, Khorsabad, and Ashur have revealed the magnificent palaces, temples, and administrative complexes that house the machinery of Assyrian power, while thousands of cuneiform tablets have preserved the detailed records of royal annals, administrative correspondence, legal documents, and literary works that provide an unprecedented window into the functioning of this ancient superpower. The material culture uncovered by archaeologists tells the story of a civilization that combined ruthless military efficiency with sophisticated artistic achievement, creating some of the most impressive architectural monuments and artistic masterpieces of the ancient world, while simultaneously developing administrative systems of remarkable complexity and effectiveness. From the earliest archaeological layers at Ashur, dating to the 3rd millennium BCE, through the final destruction of Nineveh in 612 BCE, the material remains of Assyrian civilization reveal a society that underwent continuous evolution and transformation, adapting to changing political circumstances, technological innovations, and cultural influences while maintaining a distinctive identity, rooted in the worship of the god Ashur and the pursuit of imperial dominion. The stratigraphic evidence from major Assyrian sites demonstrates clear phases of development, from the modest early Assyrian period through the explosive expansion of the Neo-Assyrian Empire, each phase marked by distinctive pottery assemblages, architectural styles, and artistic motifs that reflect both continuity and change in Assyrian material culture. The discovery of the royal libraries at Nineveh, particularly the Library of Ashurbanipal, has provided scholars with an invaluable collection of over 30,000 cuneiform tablets that preserve not only Assyrian historical records but also copies of much older Mesopotamian literature, including the Epic of Gilgamesh, creation myths, mathematical texts, astronomical observations, and medical treatises that demonstrate the breadth of Assyrian intellectual achievement and their role as preservers of ancient Near Eastern learning. The massive stone reliefs that adorned Assyrian palaces, depicting scenes of royal hunts, military campaigns, religious ceremonies, and tribute processions, represent some of the finest examples of narrative art from the ancient world, combining technical mastery with propagandistic intent to create visual records of Assyrian power that were designed to impress visitors and intimidate potential enemies. Archaeological analysis of Assyrian military equipment, including iron weapons, siege engines, and protective armor found in various excavation contexts, has revealed the technological sophistication that underpinned Assyrian military supremacy, while the discovery of detailed siege reliefs and military correspondence has provided insights into Assyrian tactical innovations and strategic thinking that revolutionized ancient warfare. The excavation of provincial capitals and administrative centers throughout the former Assyrian Empire has revealed the extent of Assyrian administrative reach and the standardization of imperial practices, from the use of Aramaic as a lingua franca to the implementation of uniform taxation systems, and the establishment of efficient communication networks that enabled effective governance across vast distances. Settlement pattern analysis based on archaeological survey data has demonstrated how Assyrian imperial policy affected demographic distribution, economic production, and cultural development throughout the empire. While excavations at sites that EXP or INC the Assyrian conquest have revealed both the destructive impact of military campaigns and the subsequent reconstruction efforts that characterized Assyrian provincial administration, the material evidence for Assyrian religious practices, including temple architecture, cult objects, ritual deposits, and votive inscriptions, illustrates the central role that religious ideology played in legitimizing imperial rule and maintaining social cohesion. While comparative analysis of religious artifacts from different periods shows how Assyrian religious concepts evolved in response to political changes and cultural contact with other civilizations, technological analysis of Assyrian artifacts has revealed their mastery of metallurgy, particularly in ironworking, which gave them significant military advantages, while studies of Assyrian agriculture, based on analysis of agricultural tools, irrigation systems, and paleobotanical remains, have shown how they were able to support large urban populations and maintain the agricultural surplus necessary to sustain their military campaigns and administrative apparatus. The archaeological record of Assyrian trade relationships, evidenced by the distribution of Assyrian pottery, seals, and other artifacts throughout the ancient Near East, demonstrates the economic foundations of imperial power and the ways in which military conquest was complemented by commercial penetration and cultural influence. Archaeological studies of human remains from Assyrian sites have provided insights into population health, social stratification, and the physical consequences of imperial lifestyle, while isotope analysis has revealed patterns of migration and dietary practices that illuminate the human dimension of imperial administration and the movement of peoples within the Assyrian Empire. The discovery and analysis of Assyrian royal inscriptions carved on stone monuments, palace walls, and clay cylinders has provided historians with detailed chronological frameworks and insights into Assyrian royal ideology, military campaigns, building projects, and administrative policy that complement and sometimes contradict the evidence from contemporary foreign sources. Archaeological investigations of Assyrian defensive installations, including city walls, fortified gates, and military outposts, have revealed the sophisticated engineering capabilities that protected Assyrian cities and controlled strategic routes. While the study of siege remains at sites attacked by Assyrian armies has provided graphic evidence of their military tactics and the effectiveness of their siege warfare techniques, the material culture of daily life in Assyrian cities, preserved in domestic contexts, workshops, and commercial districts, illuminates the experiences of ordinary people within the empire and demonstrates how imperial policies affected social organization, economic activities, and cultural practices at the local level. Recent advances in archaeological methodology, including remote sensing, digital reconstruction, and scientific analysis of ancient materials, have opened new avenues for understanding Assyrian civilization and have led to important revisions in our understanding of imperial administration, military organization, and cultural development, while ongoing excavations continue to yield new discoveries that expand and refine our knowledge of this remarkable ancient empire. The archaeological foundations of Assyrian civilization can be traced to the earliest occupation levels at Ashur, where excavations conducted by German archaeologists in the early 20th century revealed evidence of continuous human habitation extending back to approximately 2500 BCE, with the deepest archaeological deposits containing pottery assemblages, architectural remains, and material culture that demonstrate clear connections to broader Mesopotamian cultural traditions, while also exhibiting distinctive local characteristics that would eventually evolve into recognizably Assyrian material culture. The site of Ashur, strategically positioned on the west bank of the Tigris River at a point where the river could be easily crossed and where important overland trade routes converged, shows evidence of planned urban development from its earliest phases, with successive building levels revealing the gradual transformation of a modest settlement into a major urban center equipped with monumental architecture, sophisticated water management systems, and extensive residential and commercial districts that supported a complex urban society. Early Assyrian pottery from the 3rd millennium BCE, characterized by distinctive vessel forms, surface treatments, and decorative motifs, demonstrates clear relationships with contemporary Sumerian and Akkadian ceramic traditions while also showing local innovations in manufacturing techniques and stylistic preferences that suggest the development of a distinct regional identity within the broader Mesopotamian cultural sphere. The archaeological evidence for early Assyrian religious practices, preserved in the form of temple foundations, cult objects, votive deposits, and religious iconography, reveals a complex pantheon that incorporated both local deities and gods, borrowed from other Mesopotamian traditions, with the god Ashur gradually emerging as the preeminent deity, whose worship would become central to Assyrian identity and imperial ideology. Excavations in the oldest levels of the Ashur temple at Ashur have revealed architectural features and ritual deposits that demonstrate the antiquity of Ashur worship and the continuity of religious practices that would persist throughout Assyrian history. While the discovery of early votive inscriptions and dedicatory objects has provided insights into the social and political organization of early Assyrian society, the material evidence for early Assyrian economic activities, including workshops, storage facilities, commercial archives, and trading goods from distant regions, illustrates the importance of long-distance trade in Assyrian development and shows how the city's strategic location enabled its inhabitants to participate in and eventually control important commercial networks that connected Mesopotamia with Anatolia, the Levant, and the Iranian plateau. Archaeological analysis of early Assyrian burial practices, based on excavations of cemeteries and individual graves from various periods, has revealed changing attitudes toward death, afterlife beliefs, and social stratification, while the study of grave goods, burial architecture, and mortuary rituals has provided insights into social organization, economic status, and cultural values in early Assyrian society. The technological capabilities of early Assyrian craftsmen, evidenced by the quality and sophistication of metalwork, stone carving, textile production, and ceramic manufacture found in archaeological contexts, demonstrate a high level of technical skill and artistic achievement that laid the foundation for the later flowering of Assyrian art and architecture during the imperial period. Settlement pattern analysis based on archaeological survey data from the Ashur region has revealed how early Assyrian society was organized around agricultural production, pastoral activities, and craft specialization, with rural settlements supporting the urban center through tribute, taxation, and the provision of raw materials and finished goods. The archaeological record of early Assyrian military equipment and fortifications, including weapons, armor, defensive walls, and siege implements, shows the gradual development of military technologies and tactical innovations that would eventually enable Assyrian armies to dominate the ancient Near East. While the evidence for military architecture and defensive planning reveals sophisticated understanding of strategic routes, while the study of siege remains at sites attacked by Assyrian armies has provided graphic evidence of their military tactics and the effectiveness of their siege warfare techniques. The material culture of daily life in Assyrian cities, preserved in domestic contexts, workshops, and commercial districts, illuminates the experiences of ordinary people within the empire. and demonstrates how imperial policies affected social organization, economic activities, and cultural practices at the local level. Recent advances in archaeological methodology, including remote sensing, digital reconstruction, and scientific analysis of ancient materials, have opened new avenues for understanding Assyrian civilization and have led to important revisions in our understanding of imperial administration, military organization, and cultural development, while ongoing excavations continue to yield new discoveries that expand and refine our knowledge of this remarkable ancient empire. The archaeological foundations of Assyrian civilization can be traced to the earliest occupation levels at Ashur, where excavations conducted by German archaeologists in the early 20th century revealed evidence of continuous human habitation extending back to approximately 2500 BCE. But the deepest archaeological deposits containing pottery assemblages, architectural remains, and material culture that demonstrate clear connections to broader Mesopotamian cultural traditions, while also exhibiting distinctive local characteristics that would eventually evolve into recognizably Assyrian material culture. The site of Ashur, strategically positioned on the west bank of the Tigris River at a point where the river could be easily crossed and where important overland trade routes converged, shows evidence of planned urban development from its earliest phases, with successive building levels revealing the gradual transformation of a modest settlement into a major urban center equipped with monumental architecture, sophisticated water management systems, and extensive residential and commercial districts that supported a complex urban society. Early Assyrian pottery from the 3rd millennium BCE, characterized by distinctive vessel forms, surface treatments, and decorative motifs, demonstrates clear relationships with contemporary Sumerian and Akkadian ceramic traditions, while also showing local innovations in manufacturing techniques and stylistic preferences that suggest the development of a distinct regional identity within the broader Mesopotamian cultural sphere. The archaeological evidence for early Assyrian religious practices, preserved in the form of temple foundations, cult objects, votive deposits, and religious iconography, reveals a complex pantheon that incorporated both local deities and gods, borrowed from other Mesopotamian traditions, with the god Ashur gradually emerging as the preeminent deity, whose worship would become central to Assyrian identity and imperial ideology. Excavations in the oldest levels of the Ashur temple at Ashur have revealed architectural features and ritual deposits that demonstrate the antiquity of Ashur worship and the continuity of religious practices that would persist throughout Assyrian history. While the discovery of early votive inscriptions and dedicatory objects has provided insights into the social and political organization of early Assyrian society, the material evidence for early Assyrian economic activities, including workshops, storage facilities, commercial archives, and trading goods from distant regions, illustrates the importance of long-distance trade in Assyrian development and shows how the city's strategic location enabled its inhabitants to participate in and eventually control important commercial networks that connected Mesopotamia with Anatolia, the Levant, and the Iranian plateau. Archaeological analysis of early Assyrian burial practices, based on excavations of cemeteries and individual graves from various periods, has revealed changing attitudes toward death, afterlife beliefs, and social stratification, while the study of grave goods, burial architecture, and mortuary rituals has provided insights into social organization, economic status, and cultural values in early Assyrian society. The technological capabilities of early Assyrian craftsmen, evidenced by the quality and sophistication of metalwork, stone carving, textile production, and ceramic manufacture found in archaeological contexts, demonstrate a high level of technical skill and artistic achievement that laid the foundation for the later flowering of Assyrian art and architecture during the imperial period. Settlement pattern analysis based on archaeological survey data from the Ashur region has revealed how early Assyrian society was organized around agricultural production, pastoral activities, and craft specialization with rural settlements, supporting the urban center through tribute, taxation, and the provision of raw materials and finished goods. The archaeological record of early Assyrian military equipment and fortifications, including weapons, armor, defensive walls, and siege implements, shows the gradual development of military technologies and tactical innovations that would, eventually, enable Assyrian armies to dominate the ancient Near East. While the evidence for military architecture and defensive planning reveals sophisticated understanding of strategic principles and engineering capabilities, early Assyrian administrative practices, evidenced by the discovery of archives, sealing systems, writing implements, and bureaucratic records, demonstrate the development of complex governmental institutions and record-keeping systems that would provide the administrative foundation for later imperial expansion and territorial control. The material culture of early Assyrian society, preserved in domestic contexts, public buildings, and commercial facilities, reveals a complex urban civilization characterized by social stratification, economic specialization, and cultural sophistication that provided the social and economic foundation for the military and political achievements of the later imperial period. Archaeological investigations of early Assyrian agricultural systems, including irrigation works, field systems, and storage facilities, have revealed how the inhabitants of the Ashur region developed intensive agricultural techniques that enabled them to support dense urban populations and accumulate the agricultural surplus necessary for specialized craft production, military activities, and long-distance trade. The discovery of early Assyrian artistic works, including cylinder seals, sculptural fragments, architectural decoration, and luxury objects, demonstrates the emergence of distinctive Assyrian artistic traditions that combine local preferences with influences from other Mesopotamian cultures, creating a unique aesthetic that would reach its full flowering during the Neo-Assyrian period. Evidence for early Assyrian contact with other civilizations, preserved in the form of imported goods, foreign artistic influences, diplomatic correspondence, and technological borrowings, illustrates how Assyrian culture developed through constant interaction with neighboring peoples and demonstrates the cosmopolitan character that would become a hallmark of later Assyrian imperial culture. The stratigraphic sequence at Ashur and other early Assyrian sites provides a detailed chronological framework for understanding the gradual development of Assyrian civilization from its modest beginnings as a regional center to its eventual emergence as the dominant power in the ancient Near East, with each archaeological phase marked by distinctive material culture assemblages that reflect changing political circumstances, economic conditions, and cultural influences. The emergence of Assyria as a significant political force during the Middle Assyrian period, roughly spanning the 14th to 11th centuries BCE, is documented through extensive archaeological evidence and textual sources that reveal a process of gradual territorial expansion, military innovation, and administrative development that transformed the kingdom of Ashur from a regional city-state into a major imperial power capable of challenging the established great powers of the ancient Near East. Archaeological excavations at Middle Assyrian sites have uncovered massive construction projects, including the expansion and renovation of the Ashur temple complex, the construction of new royal palaces, and the development of extensive urban infrastructure that reflects both increased economic prosperity and the consolidation of royal power under a series of energetic and militarily successful kings. The Middle Assyrian period witnessed significant innovations in military technology and organization, evidenced by archaeological discoveries of iron weapons, improved armor designs, and the remains of siege equipment that gave Assyrian armies decisive advantages over their enemies. While the analysis of fortification systems and military architecture from this period reveals sophisticated understanding of defensive engineering and strategic planning, The material culture of Middle Assyrian society, preserved in archaeological contexts ranging from royal palaces to modest domestic structures, demonstrates increasing social complexity and economic specialization, with evidence for highly skilled craftsmen producing luxury goods, sophisticated administrative systems managing territorial expansion, and extensive trade networks bringing exotic materials and finished products from across the known world. Middle Assyrian royal inscriptions, carved on stone monuments and written on clay tablets, provide detailed accounts of military campaigns, building projects, and administrative reforms that complement the archaeological evidence and reveal the ideological foundations of Assyrian imperial ambitions. While the discovery of royal libraries and archives has preserved copies of earlier Mesopotamian literature and legal traditions that demonstrate Assyrian participation in broader cultural developments, the archaeological evidence for Middle Assyrian religious practices, including temple architecture, cult statues, ritual deposits, and religious iconography, shows the continued centrality of Ashur worship while also revealing the incorporation of deities and religious practices from conquered territories, reflecting the complex relationship between imperial expansion and cultural assimilation that would characterize Assyrian rule throughout their history. Excavations at Middle Assyrian provincial centers and military outposts have revealed the extent of territorial control and the mechanisms through which the central government maintained authority over distant regions, including the establishment of permanent garrisons, the construction of administrative centers, and the implementation of standardized administrative practices that facilitated effective imperial governance. The material evidence for Middle Assyrian economic activities, including workshop installations, storage facilities, commercial archives, and evidence for agricultural intensification, demonstrates how imperial expansion was supported by systematic economic exploitation of conquered territories and the development of tribute systems that channeled wealth from the provinces to the imperial center. Archaeological analysis of Middle Assyrian burial practices and mortuary architecture has revealed changing social hierarchies and the emergence of new elite groups associated with military and administrative service, while the study of grave goods and burial customs has provided insights into religious beliefs, social values, and cultural practices that characterized Assyrian society during this formative period. The technological achievements of Middle Assyrian craftsmen, evidenced by the quality and sophistication of metalwork, stone carving, ivory working, and textile production found in excavated contexts, demonstrate the high level of technical skill and artistic creativity that supported both practical and ceremonial needs of the expanding empire, while innovations in engineering and construction techniques enabled the creation of increasingly ambitious architectural projects. Settlement pattern analysis based on archaeological survey data from Middle Assyrian territories has revealed how imperial expansion affected demographic distribution, agricultural production, and urban development, with evidence for planned settlements, agricultural colonies, and strategic outposts that facilitated territorial control and economic exploitation. The archaeological record of Middle Assyrian interactions with neighboring civilizations, preserved in the form of diplomatic gifts, tribute objects, and evidence for cultural exchange, illustrates the complex diplomatic and commercial relationships that complemented military conquest and extending Assyrian influence throughout the region. While the presence of foreign artistic influences and technological borrowings demonstrates the cosmopolitan character of Middle Assyrian culture, Middle Assyrian administrative documents, preserved on clay tablets in various archives, provide detailed information about territorial organization, taxation systems, legal procedures, and bureaucratic practices that reveal the institutional foundations of imperial governance and demonstrate the sophisticated administrative capabilities that enabled effective rule over diverse populations and extensive territories. The archaeological evidence for Middle Assyrian military installations, including fortified cities, border fortresses, and strategic outposts, shows how the empire developed comprehensive defensive systems and maintained military readiness through permanent garrisons, standardized equipment, and systematic training programs that created professional armies capable of sustained campaigning across vast distances. The material culture of Middle Assyrian royal courts, preserved in palace excavations and royal tombs, reveals the emergence of elaborate ceremonial practices, sophisticated artistic patronage, and luxury consumption patterns that reflected the growing wealth and international prestige of Assyrian rulers, while the discovery of royal regalia, ceremonial objects, and palace furnishings has provided insights into the symbolic and practical aspects of kingship. Evidence from Middle Assyrian urban planning and architectural development, including the layout of cities, the design of public buildings, and the organization of residential districts, demonstrates sophisticated understanding of urban design principles and reveals how imperial wealth was invested in monumental construction projects that served both practical and propagandistic purposes. The archaeological record of Middle Assyrian agricultural systems, including irrigation works, field boundaries, and agricultural tools, shows how imperial expansion was supported by intensive agricultural production and systematic exploitation of natural resources, while paleoenvironmental studies have revealed how Assyrian agricultural practices affected local ecosystems and landscape development. Middle Assyrian artistic achievements, evidenced by the discovery of palace reliefs, sculptures, decorative objects, and architectural ornaments, demonstrate the emergence of distinctive Assyrian artistic styles that combine traditional Mesopotamian motifs with innovative techniques and subject matter that reflected imperial themes and royal propaganda, establishing artistic traditions that would reach their full development during the Neo-Assyrian period. The transformation of Assyria from a regional kingdom into the dominant imperial power of the ancient Near East during the Neo-Assyrian period, spanning roughly from 911 to 609 BCE, represents one of the most remarkable examples of sustained military expansion and administrative innovation in ancient history, a process that is documented through extensive archaeological evidence from royal capitals, provincial centers, and conquered territories that reveals the mechanisms through which a relatively small kingdom, based in northern Mesopotamia, was able to create and maintain an empire that stretched from the Persian Gulf to the Nile Delta and from the Zagros Mountains to the Aegean Sea. The archaeological record of Neo-Assyrian imperial expansion begins with evidence from the reign of Adad-nirari to 911 to 891 BCE, whose military campaigns and administrative reforms are documented through royal inscriptions, archaeological remains of conquered cities, and the material culture of newly incorporated territories that show how early Neo-Assyrian rulers combined military conquest with systematic administrative reorganization to create stable provincial governments capable of contributing to imperial resources and maintaining imperial control. Excavations of major Neo-Assyrian royal capitals, including Ashur, Nimrud, Khorsabad, and Nineveh, have revealed the massive construction projects undertaken by successive kings to house the growing imperial administration and to display the wealth and power of the Assyrian Empire through monumental architecture that combined functional efficiency with overwhelming grandeur. Designed to impress foreign delegations and intimidate potential enemies, the Northwest Palace at Nimrud, constructed during the reign of Ashur-nisirpal to 883 to 859 BCE, exemplifies Neo-Assyrian architectural achievement and imperial ideology through its vast scale, sophisticated planning, and elaborate decorative program that included over a mile of stone reliefs depicting royal hunts, military victories, religious ceremonies, and tribute processions that served as visual propaganda for Assyrian power while also preserving detailed historical information about imperial activities and achievements. Archaeological analysis of Neo-Assyrian military installations, and equipment has revealed the technological and organizational innovations that enabled Assyrian armies to achieve unprecedented military success, including the systematic use of iron weapons, the development of sophisticated siege techniques, the creation of professional cavalry units, and the implementation of logistical systems that could support large armies during extended campaigns in distant territories. The material evidence for Neo-Assyrian administrative systems, preserved in thousands of cuneiform tablets from royal archives and provincial centers, demonstrates the sophisticated bureaucratic machinery that enabled effective governance of a multicultural empire, including standardized record-keeping procedures, efficient communication networks, systematic taxation policies, and flexible administrative structures that could accommodate local traditions while maintaining imperial unity. Excavations at Neo-Assyrian provincial capitals and administrative centers throughout the empire have revealed how imperial control was maintained through a combination of military garrisons, administrative oversight, and cultural assimilation. Policies that transformed conquered territories into productive imperial provinces, while maintaining sufficient local autonomy to prevent widespread rebellion and resistance. The archaeological record of Neo-Assyrian economic activities, including evidence for agricultural intensification, craft production, commercial activities, and resource extraction, shows how imperial expansion was supported by systematic economic exploitation that channeled wealth from throughout the empire to support the military, administrative, and construction activities of the imperial government. The discovery of extensive Neo-Assyrian libraries and archives, particularly the Royal Library of Ashur at Nineveh, has preserved not only detailed records of imperial administration and royal activities, but also comprehensive collections of earlier Mesopotamian literature, scientific texts, and religious works that demonstrate Assyrian commitment to preserving and transmitting ancient Near Eastern cultural traditions. Archaeological investigations of Neo-Assyrian religious practices and institutions have revealed how imperial expansion affected religious development, including the incorporation of foreign deities into the Assyrian pantheon, the establishment of imperial cult centers in conquered territories, and the use of religious ceremonies and festivals to reinforce imperial ideology and maintain social cohesion across diverse populations. The material culture of Neo-Assyrian royal courts, evidenced by palace excavations, royal tombs, and luxury objects found in various contexts, reveals the unprecedented wealth and sophistication that characterized imperial leadership. While the discovery of royal regalia, ceremonial weapons, and palace furnishings has provided insights into the symbolic and practical aspects of Neo-Assyrian kingship and court culture. Evidence for Neo-Assyrian artistic achievement preserved in the form of palace reliefs, sculptures, decorative objects, and architectural ornaments from sites throughout the empire demonstrates the development of distinctive imperial artistic styles that combine traditional Mesopotamian elements with innovations in technique, subject matter, and iconographic programs that reflected imperial themes and served propagandistic purposes. The archaeological record of Neo-Assyrian urban development, including city planning, architectural design, and infrastructure projects, shows how imperial wealth was invested in creating impressive urban environments that served as centers of administration, commerce, and culture while also functioning as symbols of imperial power and achievements. Neo-Assyrian technological innovations, evidenced by archaeological discoveries of engineering works, manufacturing installations, and technical equipment, reveal the advanced capabilities that supported both military conquest and civilian administration, including innovations in metallurgy, construction techniques, water management, and transportation systems that enabled the empire to function effectively across vast distances and diverse geographic conditions. The material evidence for Neo-Assyrian social organization, preserved in domestic contexts, workshop installations, and commercial facilities, demonstrates the complex social hierarchies and economic relationships that characterized imperial society. While bioarchaeological studies of human remains have provided insights into population health, social mobility, and the physical consequences of imperial lifestyle for different social groups, archaeological analysis of Neo-Assyrian deportation and resettlement policies, based on evidence from sites that experience population transfers and the material culture of resettled communities, has revealed how imperial authorities use systematic population movements to prevent rebellion, exploit labor resources, and facilitate cultural assimilation, while maintaining the economic productivity of conquered territories. The discovery of Neo-Assyrian diplomatic correspondence and international treaties, preserved on cuneiform tablets from various archives, provides insights into imperial foreign policy and reveals how military conquest was complemented by diplomatic negotiation, alliance formation, and client-state relationships that extended Assyrian influence beyond the boundaries of direct territorial control. The reign of Tiglath-Pileser III 744 to 727 BCE marked a crucial turning point in Assyrian imperial development and represents perhaps the most significant transformation in ancient Near Eastern political organization since the collapse of the Bronze Age empires. A transformation that is extensively documented through archaeological evidence from royal palaces, provincial centers, and conquered territories that reveals the implementation of revolutionary administrative, military, and territorial policies that would define the character of the mature Assyrian Empire and establish precedents for imperial governance that would influence all subsequent Near Eastern empires. Archaeological excavations at Nimrud have uncovered the central palace built by Tiglath-Pileser III, whose architectural innovations and decorative programs reflect the new imperial ideology and administrative requirements of the transformed empire. While the discovery of extensive archive rooms containing thousands of administrative tablets has preserved detailed records of the bureaucratic revolution that accompanied territorial reorganization and demonstrates the sophisticated record-keeping systems that enabled effective management of unprecedented imperial complexity. The material evidence for Tiglath-Pileser III's military reforms, including archaeological discoveries of standardized weapons, improved siege equipment, and the remains of military installations throughout the empire, reveals the creation of a professional imperial army based on systematic recruitment, standardized training, and technological innovation that replaced the earlier system of seasonal campaigning, with permanent military units capable of conducting simultaneous operations across multiple theaters. Archaeological analysis of sites conquered during Tiglath-Pileser I's campaigns has revealed the systematic implementation of new imperial policies, including the destruction of local political centers, the deportation of local elites, and the establishment of Assyrian administrative centers that transformed the political landscape of the ancient Near East and eliminated the independent kingdoms that had previously provided alternatives to Assyrian hegemony. The archaeological record of Tiglath-Pileser III's administrative innovations, preserved in provincial archives and administrative centers throughout the empire, demonstrates the implementation of direct imperial administration that replaced the earlier system of client states with appointed governors, standardized tribute assessments, and systematic population censuses that enabled more effective resource extraction and territorial control. Excavations at Neo-Assyrian administrative centers established during this period have revealed the extent of bureaucratic standardization and the sophistication of imperial communication systems, including the use of Aramaic as an administrative lingua franca, the establishment of regular courier services, and the implementation of standardized administrative procedures that enabled efficient governance across vast distances and diverse cultural environments. The material culture of territories incorporated into the empire during Tiglath-Pileser III's reign shows evidence of systematic cultural transformation including the introduction of Assyrian artistic styles, architectural techniques, and religious practices, while also revealing the selective preservation of local traditions that served imperial interests and contributed to the cosmopolitan character of Neo-Assyrian culture. Archaeological investigations of deportation and resettlement sites from this period have provided detailed evidence for the systematic population transfers that became a hallmark of Assyrian imperial policy, revealing how conquered populations were relocated to prevent rebellion while their specialized skills and labor were redirected to serve imperial needs in agriculture, craft production, and construction projects. The discovery of extensive correspondence archives from Tiglath-Pileser III's reign has preserved detailed records of diplomatic negotiations, military planning, and administrative coordination that demonstrate the sophisticated information gathering and decision-making processes that supported imperial expansion, and reveal the complex web of relationships between the imperial center and provincial administrations. Evidence for the economic transformation that accompanied Tiglath-Pileser III's reforms, including changes in tribute systems, commercial organization, and resource exploitation, shows how territorial reorganization was designed to maximize imperial revenues while maintaining the economic productivity of conquered territories, through policies that combine systematic exploitation with sufficient local autonomy to encourage continued production. The archaeological record of religious and cultural policies implemented during this reign reveals how imperial expansion was accompanied by systematic efforts to integrate conquered populations into Assyrian religious and cultural frameworks, while preserving local traditions that posed no threat to imperial authority, creating a multicultural imperial society that combined unity of political control with diversity of cultural expression. Archaeological analysis of urban development projects undertaken during Tiglath-Pileser III's reign, including city expansions, infrastructure improvements, and the construction of new administrative facilities, demonstrates how imperial wealth was systematically invested in creating the physical infrastructure necessary to support expanded imperial administration and maintain effective communication and transportation networks. The material evidence for technological innovations during this period, including improvements in metallurgy, engineering, and manufacturing techniques, reveals how imperial expansion stimulated technological development and enabled the empire to maintain its military and economic advantages over potential rivals through continuous innovation and adaptation. Evidence for the transformation of Assyrian court culture during Tiglath-Pileser III's reign, preserved in palace architecture, artistic programs, and luxury objects found in royal contexts, shows how imperial expansion affected royal lifestyle and ceremonial practices while also revealing the ways in which foreign cultural influences were incorporated into Assyrian court traditions. The archaeological record of provincial development during this period demonstrates how newly conquered territories were systematically integrated into imperial economic and administrative systems through the establishment of new urban centers, the development of transportation networks, and the implementation of agricultural policies that maximize tribute extraction while maintaining local economic stability. Archaeological investigations of the impact of Tiglath-Pileser III's reforms on existing urban centers throughout the empire have revealed patterns of destruction, reconstruction, and cultural transformation that illustrate both the disruptive effects of imperial conquest and the long-term benefits of incorporation into the Assyrian administrative and economic system. The architectural and artistic achievements of the Neo-Assyrian Empire, particularly during the 8th and 7th centuries BCE, represent the culmination of millennia of Mesopotamian cultural development and demonstrate the ways in which imperial wealth, international contact, and royal patronage combined to produce some of the most impressive monuments and artistic masterpieces of the ancient world, achievements that are extensively documented through archaeological excavations at major royal centers and provincial sites. that have revealed the sophisticated planning, advanced engineering, and exceptional artistic skill that characterize Assyrian monumental construction and decorative programs. The palace complex at Khorsabad, constructed by Sargon II 722 to 705 BCE as a new royal capital, exemplifies the grandeur and sophistication of Neo-Assyrian architecture through its massive scale, innovative design, and elaborate decorative program that combine functional efficiency with overwhelming visual impact. Designed to demonstrate Assyrian power and cultural achievement to both domestic and foreign audiences, archaeological excavations at Khorsabad have revealed architectural innovations, including sophisticated water management systems, advanced construction techniques, and complex spatial organization that accommodated the diverse functions of imperial administration while creating impressive ceremonial spaces for royal audiences, religious rituals, and diplomatic receptions that reinforce the sacred and political authority of Assyrian kingship. The stone reliefs that adorned Assyrian palaces represent perhaps the finest achievement of ancient Near Eastern narrative art, combining technical mastery with sophisticated iconographic programs that depicted royal hunts, military campaigns, religious ceremonies, and tribute processions in detailed scenes that served both decorative and propagandistic purposes, while preserving invaluable historical information about Assyrian military tactics, religious practices, and cultural traditions. Archaeological analysis of Assyrian relief sculpture has revealed the sophisticated workshop organization and artistic training that produced these masterpieces, including evidence for master sculptors, specialized carvers, and systematic iconographic programs that ensured stylistic consistency and thematic coherence across the extensive decorative schemes that adorned multiple palace complexes throughout the empire. The discovery of Assyrian ivory carvings, found in palace contexts and elite residences throughout the empire, demonstrates the international character of Neo-Assyrian art and the ways in which imperial expansion brought together artistic traditions from across the ancient world, creating luxury objects that combined Assyrian iconographic themes with stylistic elements drawn from Phoenician, Syrian, and other regional artistic traditions. Excavations of Neo-Assyrian temples and religious complexes have revealed architectural innovations and decorative programs that reflect both traditional Mesopotamian religious concepts and new imperial ideologies, including the development of massive temple complexes that served as centers of imperial cult practices and repositories for the religious traditions of conquered peoples that were incorporated into Assyrian religious life. The archaeological evidence for Neo-Assyrian urban planning, preserved in the layout of royal capitals and provincial centers, demonstrates sophisticated understanding of urban design principles and reveals how imperial cities were organized to accommodate the complex requirements of imperial administration, while also serving as impressive displays of Assyrian wealth and cultural achievement. Neo-Assyrian engineering achievements, evidenced by the remains of aqueducts, canals, roads, and other infrastructure projects, show the advanced technical capabilities that supported both military operations and civilian administration, while the construction of massive royal gardens and pleasure parks demonstrates how imperial wealth was invested in creating impressive recreational and ceremonial environments that served both practical and symbolic purposes. The material culture of Neo-Assyrian court life, preserved in palace excavations and archived documents, reveals the elaborate ceremonial practices, sophisticated etiquette, and complex hierarchical relationships that characterize imperial court culture, while the discovery of royal regalia, ceremonial objects, and palace furnishings has provided insights into the symbolic and practical aspects of Neo-Assyrian kingship and court administration. Archaeological investigations of Neo-Assyrian craft production and artistic workshops have revealed the sophisticated organization and technical capabilities that produced the luxury goods, artistic objects, and architectural elements that decorated imperial palaces and temples. While the analysis of artistic techniques and materials has demonstrated the international scope of imperial artistic programs and the high level of technical skill achieved by Assyrian craftsmen, the discovery of extensive garden installations and landscape architecture at Neo-Assyrian royal sites has revealed innovative approaches to environmental design and demonstrates how imperial rulers invested enormous resources in creating impressive outdoor spaces that combine practical functions with aesthetic achievement and served as settings for royal ceremonies and diplomatic receptions. Evidence for the international influence of Neo-Assyrian artistic styles, found in archaeological contexts throughout the ancient Near East and Eastern Mediterranean, shows how imperial expansion disseminated Assyrian cultural forms and artistic techniques while also revealing the ways in which local artistic traditions were influenced by and incorporated into imperial cultural programs. The archaeological record of Neo-Assyrian technological innovations, including improvements in metallurgy, construction techniques, and manufacturing processes, demonstrates the advanced technical capabilities that supported both imperial expansion and cultural achievement, while evidence for systematic technology transfer and craft specialization reveals how imperial administration facilitated technological development and innovation. Neo-Assyrian architectural decoration, including glazed brick reliefs, wall paintings, and architectural sculpture found in various excavation contexts, demonstrates the sophisticated aesthetic sensibilities and technical capabilities that characterized imperial artistic production. While the analysis of decorative programs has revealed complex iconographic systems that reinforced imperial ideology and religious beliefs through visual imagery, the military organization and technological capabilities of the Neo-Assyrian Empire, as revealed through extensive archaeological evidence from battlefield sites, military installations, royal arsenals, and documentary sources, demonstrate the revolutionary innovations in warfare that enabled a relatively small kingdom to conquer and control territories spanning from Egypt to Iran and establish military precedents that would influence warfare throughout the ancient world for centuries to come. Archaeological excavations at Neo-Assyrian military sites have uncovered evidence for the systematic organization of imperial armies into specialized units, including heavy infantry armed with iron weapons and protective armor, cavalry forces equipped with improved riding gear and weapons designed for mounted combat, and engineering corps capable of constructing and operating sophisticated siege equipment that can overcome the strongest fortifications of the ancient world. The material remains of Assyrian siege warfare, preserved at sites such as Lachish in Palestine, where British archaeologists discovered extensive evidence of the Assyrian siege conducted by Sennacherib in 701 BCE, includes siege ramps, battering ram emplacements, arrowheads, and other military equipment that demonstrate the systematic approach and technological sophistication that characterized Assyrian siege tactics and made their armies virtually unstoppable when attacking fortified positions. Archaeological analysis of Assyrian weapons and armor found in royal arsenals, military installations, and battlefield contexts has revealed the advanced metallurgical techniques and systematic production methods that provided Assyrian soldiers with superior equipment, while the discovery of standardized weapon types and armor designs demonstrates the organizational efficiency and quality control that characterized imperial military production. The archaeological evidence for Assyrian military engineering, including the remains of siege engines, portable bridges, and other specialized equipment found at various sites, shows how Assyrian armies overcame geographical obstacles and defensive installations through innovative engineering solutions and systematic preparation that enabled them to operate effectively in diverse terrain and climatic conditions throughout their vast empire. Excavations of Assyrian military camps and fortified positions have revealed the sophisticated logistical capabilities that supported extended military campaigns including systematic supply networks, standardized camp layouts, and efficient communication systems that enabled Assyrian armies to maintain operational effectiveness. During multi-year campaigns in distant territories far from their Mesopotamian homeland, the material culture of Assyrian military organization, preserved in administrative archives and archaeological contexts, demonstrates the professional character of imperial armies and reveals how military service became a pathway to social advancement and economic prosperity within the empire, while the evidence for military training, standardized equipment, and systematic recruitment shows how the empire created and maintained armed forces capable of simultaneous operations across multiple theaters. Archaeological analysis of fortification systems and defensive installations throughout the Assyrian Empire has revealed the sophisticated engineering capabilities and strategic thinking that protected imperial territories and controlled important transportation routes. While the study